So welcome everybody. Also in the back over there, yeah? Well, no, thank you for joining us, guys. And we're going to talk about the role and the value of the data centers. So something about pairing and, of course, the new cables and investment strategies which are out there. So to meet current and future digital demand in the region, who came up with a title like that?
You.
No way. Did I? I must have been. I don't know. I don't know what I drank, but you know, something like that. So, and we're gonna have a, let's say, a short 45 minutes to discuss this, to see what's the point of view of people from, you know, the people who know about this, Infinera, Sienna, and from Telxius, of course. So I'll quickly give them a quick minute to introduce themselves, say something about the company, and after the session, when everybody's hungry, angry, and hungry, we will have some lunch, and after lunch, these guys are approachable. Not before lunch, after lunch. But anyway, on the contrary, let's keep this interactive. If you have any questions, please drop them, and we're more than happy. That's why we're actually sitting here, so to answer your questions. So, Ricardo, can I start with you? Okay.
Hello, everyone. House will be fuller, I hope, later, but thank you for being here, everyone. So I'm Ricardo Franco. I work with Sienna. We are proud of helping connect the world through oceans and clouds. We provide telecommunications equipment for customers like Telxius and others as well. Also Go Data, that didn't make it, our friend Axial, but still our customer. But what we do, in my case specifically, I work with the subsea division, helping the customers that have any subsea interest, cables, capacities, backhauls, anything to be successful. So happy to be here and talk about subsea and everything in between. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Alberto?
Good morning, everyone. Alberto Calabro from Telxius. We're a leading connectivity provider, subsea and terrestrial, as well as data centers. Good morning, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Andres?
Morning, Eric. Thank you. Thank you for giving us the space to be able to talk to everybody. Good morning, everybody. I'm from Infinera. I'm the CTO for Latin America. Hopefully, we're going to have some good interactions today, as we always do. So Infinera is an equipment vendor for most of the focus is on optical, as we have today. We do have subsea, we have terrestrial, and we enjoy a good market share throughout Latin America with our customers as the ones here in the panel with Liberty and Exile, who unfortunately couldn't make it.
I couldn't make it, missed the flight, right?
Oh,
so
he missed the flight.
There you go.
Yep.
Unfortunately. So thank you, guys. Thank you for joining me here on this panel, and again, thank you for you all, joining us. Okay, Ricardo, up to you. The current data center landscape, and who and what are the key drivers, challenges, the opportunities? What are the latest developments in the region, and what's the main demand? And by that question, I'm leaving, so he has half an hour.
Oh, yeah. I'll see you in an hour. Yeah, I'll see you in the afternoon. I mean, it's been busy days, right? So for the industry. So if we look globally, we're seeing still the build outs for capacity, right? So if you look globally, we're seeing a lot of investments across the globe. Today, if you look outside of our region, outside of the Americas, there's a lot being done by the content providers, right? They're behind most of the build outs, which took them a while to get there, but now they really are the ones that are leading the charge in terms of building systems across the globe. Their intent is really connecting their data centers, but the good thing is that whenever they build a system, they build more than what they need. So if they build a trans-Pacific system with 16 fiber pairs, likely 6 of those they're going to trade with other carriers, right? If they build a system, for example, between Brazil and Argentina and US, like Firmina, they're going to trade fiber pairs with the likes of Telxius and others as well. So they build more than what they need, and then what they do, they swap that for cable landing station rights, for backhauls, for anything in between. So they are driving the market. If you look more regionally, it's a little bit different in our regions because we still have, within the Americas, some carriers, some service providers that are still leading the charge. So Go Data is a good example. They're still building their own cables or planning to or announcing to. Liberty is another example as well. Telxius for many, many years was building their own cables, like Brusa is one they built. Mistral, they built in cooperation with American Mobile. Now Tikal is one they have announced. So in our region, we have a mixture of service providers building together or complementarily with the content provider. So it's a bit different than what we see globally. And also we have some interesting developments in transatlantic. So if you look at the Americas, we have to connect north to south, and of course east to west, right? So if you look at the US going to Europe, we have new cables being announced. Some of those, most of those actually, are being deployed by the content providers, but in collaboration with some of the service providers, be that for data centers or for connectivity or for landing parties. If we go west, if we go to Trans-Pacific, it's really almost 100% of service providers that are doing that. So some collaboration with the Asian carriers, but for the most part, they're the ones that are leading the charge. And just to make things more interesting, there's a whole geopolitical nightmare happening globally that is causing some angst, and we can talk about that later. But really, the market is very active. What drives is really demand globally, but in our region, it's also demand combined with connectivity, right? Diversity is a big driver today. So just having one landing to one country is not enough. So now we're having almost like a mesh over across the ocean with different cables being connected through the same countries, but over diverse routes. So very exciting days these days.
Okay, Andres, I mean, your view on what we have in the currently in
Absolutely agree with Ricardo on that. We generally don't agree on many things, but this
You shouldn't.
we absolutely agree on that.
by default.
Right.
By default, who's always right?
Yes, in fact, if I may add to this, the traffic, the pattern of the traffic has absolutely changed, right? Most of the typical business as a service provider will go with the erosion of the price of the bits going down has been happening in Cala for the last 2-3 years. No questions on that. So for them, in our perspective, it's a lot harder to do business because they have to do the same type of business with less money, or with the same amount of money, they need to do more business. And that's what's exactly happening, right? And where's this new flow of traffic coming from? And AI is a big thing. Everybody talks about AI the groceries, AI the car, AI for absolutely everything. But what is interesting is that, and I think I was just talking to a colleague just this morning, Cala is becoming a training center for these LLM models, right? And as it becoming a training center, I want to shift my traffic to this training center, get my AI trained, and then move the data or the model back to anywhere. Now, where do you do that? In countries where you have more accessibility to cheaper labor, or you have accessibility to things that you're just building, right? You don't have to depreciate some of the assets that you already have. So Cala, what it's experiencing is a sudden amount of increase in the traffic that is inorganic. It's not the normal traffic we consume. It's the traffic that is being pushed by other regions into Cala for training, and then it's going to be pushed back, right? Now, this drives networks in two senses. More capacity, less latency. Here's where the equipment vendors go in. We continue to fight with technology, try to get to those, but we're also fine with some obsolescence of some of the cables that are out there. There are a good 25, 30 years old cables out there. So now we need to squish every single ounce out of Latin America. So if we had this conversation a year ago, and if you were to ask me, would you have imagined that 2024 has been accelerated as it is? I will say no. It's definitely moving much faster than what we expected.
All right. Okay. Alberto, everything goes super fast today, and we talked about the demand, but how are we facing the speed of the market demand from your point of view?
Right. So if you look back a few years pre-COVID, we forecasted the demand, and then we faced a different picture.
We had to, otherwise we had no existence, right?
Right.
We had to.
We had to adapt. And at the same time, the market was changing, and our customers became competitors, became cable builders, and we had to forecast for that as well. And we managed to, Telxius ended up being the largest cable or connectivity provider across U.S., Europe, and the Americas, thanks to vendors like CNN Finera, thanks to our valued customers and hyperscalers. We've been able to meet that demand, the increase of demand, with new cables, new investments. And again, we discuss AI and data center, and everybody speaks about data centers. But how do you connect data centers? 99% of IP traffic runs on subsea. So you still need subsea, and you need more routes. You need diversity and redundancy and new locations, right? Myrtle Beach, Ashburn, or Virginia Beach, and you build in new locations, and you build differently because of that increase in cost that we've seen post-COVID. We need to be smarter. We need to cooperate, collaborate, and partner with customers or other providers or other companies to have more, so that we can meet that demand.
Okay. Ricardo, you want to hit on that? Or will you agree with him again?
Of course I agree. He's the customer. I'm supposed to agree with the customer, right? Except when they're wrong, but it's very rare. No, I mean, diversity is the name of the game, right? If you look at what's being done these days in terms of building new routes, it's really going to new places, right? So if you look at U.S. East Coast, right? Virginia Beach used to be, okay, let's everybody go there. It's getting full. And then New York, it's pretty full. Now Myrtle Beach has what, 3 cables already there, maybe a 4th coming. So they are really diversifying. That may have to do with just diversity is good. May have to do other concerns as well, because there's a lot of concerns about survivability of these networks today, right? So what if scenarios that happen, we need to have different baskets for as many eggs as we can to avoid any issues, right? So the world's very complicated these days. So diversity is really important. If you look across the globe, that's even more so in other regions. Our America's region is really peaceful in a way comparing to others. So we're lucky in a sense. But what we're seeing is really all these investments, they're driving not only the subsea cables themselves, because if you land in Myrtle Beach, surprise, there is not a lot of backhauls out of there. So you've got to go to Atlanta, and from Atlanta, you've got to go down to the NAP, because traffic still wants to go to the NAP. And then you need to go north to Ashburn. So surprise, there's a few networks there that have to do a patchwork of different providers to get there. So it's driving investments in the terrestrial side as well, because of what's being driven on the subsea side. And at the end of the day, I mean, AI hasn't even left the data center, right? So we still haven't seen the impact in the network. So we have all these projections that is going to increase exponentially, but we haven't seen that yet. And honestly, I think subsea is going to be probably one of the last ones to feel the impact. But because the way everything kind of flows into the big arteries of capacity, when the impact does happen, it's going to be huge, right? So that's why we have the cable builders looking at how can I squeeze more fiber pairs in my cable. Looking 24 fiber pairs, maybe going more with multi-core fibers and all that interesting developments. And that's why we see CNN Finera trying to maximize capacity on every single channel as much as we can. Because once that hits us, it's going to be big. So that's yet to come. We don't know exactly when, but we're seeing from the access or from the data centers coming out, being monetized. And just in the previous panel, we're talking about who's going to pay for that. Maybe it's the content providers, because if they can see that you're sitting there, and I like Gil's example about the bad guy potentially doing something, right? So maybe he'll see you there as well. Maybe this guy, he needs to go and buy something in a shop because his body language tells us he's doing this and that. So all these content providers, they want to sell ads. They want you to buy stuff, right? So maybe the monetization in a large part from the AI is going to come from these guys, from selling ads, because they see what you're doing, they can process, and they can sell you targeted ads. So I think a lot of the money is going to come from them, because we're clicking their ads anyway, so they're getting money, right? So might as well build something for us.
Okay.
And going back to the previous point about diversity and the industry, the increased costs and limited resources, unless you're Google or Meta, how do you have more routes? How do you have more cables and invest more and meet that demand? the way Telxius has done it is, in the last 7 years, we've invested about $500 million. And, instead of building one cable, two cables, we have 8, in different ways. We've partnered with Google and have acquired fiber pairs. We have built Brusa on our own. So different partnership models, different ways to stay on top, stay afloat. We're still looking at the old consortium cables in some cases. We've extended existing cables like SAM1 to Dominican Republic, older cable, but still good amount of time left. So we extended that.
Some new transponders, new thingies, and no.
And the transatlantic, it's been, for example, a great success story for Telxius. Maria is a cable that was built with Meta and Microsoft 2017-18. Huge success story. Spain has become a hub, communication hub.
It's so funny because I mean, you guys, the thing of the OTT, what a blessing, right? For the operators, hell, what was coming? We didn't see this coming, right? So it's a bit of a different story, but there's always somebody who's benefiting from it, but by the end of the day, it's just answering the demand which is out there, Sure, also creating demand, right? Let's not forget this, and because what we discussed earlier, what they're going to do with our data, so they're pulling back the data, so we need it anyway. So. But that talking about the investments, I think we all have a duty towards our Earth, right? So we need to be a bit more sustainable. We need to be a bit more green and whatever. And Alberto, just a question to you: what is the current status of let's say, or what should we do to make sure that the way we build and how we build it. And especially maybe as well on the data centers, to be more sustainable, with the aspect that the investment funds behind it, they are pushing this as well. So how can we address this? Who wants to take this one?
I'll
Yep.
have a quick answer, or at least a contribution regarding what Telxius is doing. We're increasing the amount of renewable energy in our facilities, data centers.
How you do this?
Solar, and we partner with utility companies and see how they produce the energy, electricity. We have committed to be net zero by 2040, and also we've had a success story with one of our vendors. Juniper Networks, where we had old equipment, how quick that goes and how quickly you need to upgrade, and we were storing the old equipment and storage, and then we have started a new program where we can recycle it, refurbish it, so return it to the vendor, right? So it's something,
Okay, cool. Andres?
Let me add a different angle to make this a little more interactive with our audience, right? So I have a 1975 car that does barely 4 miles per gallon.
Max.
I enjoy that car, and I enjoy it a lot. But it's no longer a good business model for my house, okay? Now let me put this in telecom perspective. If the budget of the house wants a Tesla, and I have a 75 sport car, the wife will not sustain the investment on anything that goes into the 75 car. This is happening in our world today. It's no longer about, yes, we're going to save some trees. It's that your data center just does not have the power to continue to power hungry machines as we were building them 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's not there. Why? If you take a look at Blackwell, the new NVIDIA chip, and we're, again, talking outside with somebody else about this, and we were saying a telecom rack used to consume 7 kilowatts, right? Today, you're looking at barely 15, 17-ish, good consumption of power. This thing that is coming at us at full speed of AI is consuming 130 kilowatts.
Only.
Exactly. So what's going to happen is the amount of power that you're generating to this data center is fixed. It's not that you can build another nuclear plant in Puerto Rico. No, it is fixed. So what's going to happen is something has to give. If I'm increasing the amount of compute power, that is increasing the amount of energy consumption, on the other side, anything that goes towards telecom, our budget is going down, dude. That's it. So the service providers, the content players are coming back at the equipment vendors saying, hey, Ricardo, you know what? You have 50% of the power that I gave you last year. Make it work. And by the way, give me 10, 15, 20% more capacity. Because capacity is a given. But the power one is the one that is really shifting here. So from a technology perspective, we're shifting from the big Motorola phone that we used to have to an iPhone that consumes less power, right? And the functionality is also changing. So from a sustainability point of view, Eric, just as you're mentioning, it's no longer a let's save the planet. It's that if you don't generate this thing, you won't sell a single product in the field because it just won't be able to have enough power to be able to.
And investors, they know this.
And everything falls into it, right? So the investors go back at it. You know, if you see one of the 2-3 funds that are pretty much buying everything in Gala right now, it was interesting. The other day I was speaking with them, and they told me, Andres, you know, I would rather have capex to opex shifting rather than just buying the hardware. And I said, why would you want to do that? It's gonna hit your EBITDA, right? Why would you want to do that? It's because the operational side is hitting us really hard, right? That's pretty.
There's no way back, man.
This is a whole new perspective of view, and again, back to great examples of telcos, right? This is a group of individuals, and I get to say that because Axel is not here. So it's a group of individuals because they're always innovating. They come with great new ideas because the fact that they are facing a reality, which is they have to do the same thing with half the budget every single year, because that savings translate to their customers under good service that we have. And probably Ricardo sees the same thing as we do.
And I mean, what we're seeing, just to build upon what he said in there, so we're seeing the push and the more relevance for power than capacity. Capacity, okay, we have the discussion about approaching the channel limit, 10, 15%, whatever it is. I mean, it's needed, it's welcome, but really the drive to reduce power consumption, that's real, right? We saw in Singapore, I mean, looking globally, moratorium of new data centers. Nothing can get built because there's no power to power those data centers, so there's no energy. What do? We just heard today that 3 Mile nuclear plant being reactivated specifically to serve Microsoft, right? Microsoft? Yeah. So I mean, a nuclear power dedicated to one customer, billions of dollars. Yeah, they're doing that.
Yeah, but do you know how big that nuclear plant is? 2 containers on a truck.
Yeah.
It's not a huge. No, it's just 2 containers full of stuff. That's it.
Enough to blow the country.
Exactly.
That's a different story, but okay, we'll get there.
Yeah. So I mean, that's happening, right? So on our part, and we looked at that before. So if you look at data center, cable landing station rather, so where you have the PFE, the power feed equipment, which is 18 kilovolts, it's a lot of power, but actually how much it consumes of power, of wattage, it's really, really small comparing to how much lighting all those channels, all those fiber pairs is going to consume. So the majority of the power is really from what we do, right? The SLT stuff. So we're doing what we can. We're reducing 50% on a power per gigabit. So we're doing that, but that doesn't even scratch the surface of what the NVIDIAs are needing more capacity from those GPUs, right? Or more power, actually. And the other impact that we're seeing is that because these data centers, they're being moved closer to the energy sources, we're going to see an impact in connectivity. So now it's no longer the data center is in Ashburn or is close to Virginia Beach or it's in Atlanta. It's going to be close to the power plant. So backhauls will be needed to be built to bring that traffic forward to the submarine cables or to the other data centers. So that's going to push for more investments in the connectivity in country as well. So yeah, a bit of a paradigm shift that we're seeing now. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. So talking about we just gave a helicopter view of the current state, right? So Alberto, what let's say new investment opportunities do we see in the region? What can you share with the audience? What can we expect?
So yeah, the latest developments on our side are Fermina, which is cable between Argentina, Brazil, and Myrtle Beach, where we have a fiber pair. Then we're building Tikal with America Móvil between Guatemala and US, the highest capacity cable between the countries, with extension to Mexico and possibly Colombia. And then I was mentioning the R. It sounds like semi-relevant, being such a, compared to a Brazil or to, sure. But it's the largest growing economy in all of LATAM. And the economic stability of the country compared to the neighbors, it's very attractive. We see huge demand in DR. That's how we stay on top and try to, again, invest more and have more to offer to our customers.
Okay. Ricardo, what do you see around you?
Yeah, I mean, new cables are finally arriving. We'll be talking about refreshing the more the Caribbean, because US LATAM has been around for a while. So we had a boom of investments with Brusa at the same time as Cbras, at the same time as other cables, Monet coming in. So that was kind of done for a while. Now that's being filled. So now for me, it makes sense. On the West Coast, we had some cables by Telxus as well, the Mistral. Now we're seeing the missing link, as it's being called, Guatemala back to Florida, right? That was the one that was not refreshed. But in addition to that, we're seeing other systems being announced. So the one by Axel, we're giving him a lot of credit, but he's not here. We should not talk about his progress at all, right? Because he didn't show. But anyway, he's a nice guy. They're building new systems, or they're announcing to build new systems. So, and there are other independent vendors that are also announcing new systems, like TAM1, other folks. So we're seeing really a refresh in the region. New cables are going to arrive in the next, let's say, 2-3 years. But the cables that already exist, they're still there. They're still very relevant, because what is being built doesn't touch everywhere. It doesn't cover every country or every location. So a combination like what Telxus has with SAM1, different cables, old and new, I think that's what's going to be propelling the market forward. But we need a refresh, and the refresh is very welcome and a bit overdue. So, but it's coming now. Yeah, we're going to a lot of activity in the next years.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. I mean, to meet the demand and to drive growth, sometimes business models need to shift, and sometimes partnership comes in, right? Because that is that, we better win both of us, rather than both not, right? So what can you say about partnerships? How important is it? And where does it, or do you have an example where it really kicks in? Is there anything you can say?
The partnership with our vendors has been extremely important.
Yeah,
to meet
stop
that
it
demand,
now. You
right?
love each other. Come on,
Yes.
stop it.
But we couldn't have done it without equipment vendors, right? Huge demand during COVID, and the only way we, you can't survive on your own. We operate cables, but we need equipment to do that. And the demand we've seen, a couple years back, it was unprecedented. And the huge effort that these guys have put in has allowed everybody to meet that demand and meet the expectations of those hyperscalers, especially that you mentioned earlier.
Yep.
So that is on the vendor side, but how do we address the market now that the cost structure has changed, and building a subsea cable is a lot more expensive, right? And at
A
the
lot.
same time, cost of bandwidth is going down, but the cost of building is going up. And you don't know when you'll need multiple 400 gig wavelengths, right? How do you forecast for that? And the way we've done it is, rather than putting all the eggs in one basket, we've shifted the way we operate. Our MO was, Telefonica, Telxius is part of Telefonica group of companies. It's always been single ownership, individual investments. Someone at the time, 2001, was the largest cable ever built around the Americas. That will never happen again, right? Unless you're again Google or Meta, right? So we were facing that situation where either we evolved or we disappeared. And again, we've built Bruce on our own, but we always look at where we can collaborate, right? And have, for example, Firmina lands in Telxius landing station in Santos, in Brazil, right? What do I have that you need? What can you offer, as Ricardo was saying earlier? And that has allowed us to stay on top and have more, despite the fact that our customers are probably, not, want to compete, want to become cable owners. A lot of Brazilian carriers ended up investing directly, right? And some other providers, operators. So the increased role of Google and Meta, and they didn't capitalize on that opportunity, as you were saying, the blessing. If you're able to partner with them, if you're able to scale, they need to see that you're able to meet that demand for the future, for the next 10, 15,
and that you
20
have
years.
partners who can,
Right.
deliver on time to meet
Right.
that demand, right?
And if you're not, again, you
You're out.
disappear. Yeah,
You're out. You're gone.
right.
Yeah. Okay. Andres, any examples from your side where partnership was?
It's no longer an option for many service providers. I mean, the business model has absolutely changed for them in the last probably 3, 4, 5 years, right? Consolidation has happened. We've seen it from a vendor side. Consolidation did happen, and we are kind of following the same trend. But it is also part of the evolving cycle of telecommunication, right? We kind of saw this in mobile. I used to charge you by the minute, and then you got unlimited minutes. And then we talked about who was ahead of the road is because we have better coverage than you have. And then it's all about coverage. Now, if you think about telecommunication, it's about routes, right? If you have a transatlantic route, you're going to do great. I mean, you have a perfect example here, right? But what happens when you have so many cables with so many options of that route? The erosion of the price will drop. And as soon as that happens, you going ahead and building your private road is no longer an option. So you need a shared road, and that shared road will have a different business model. The question is, how do we become competitors sharing the same road? So you went from selling capacity, now you're selling spectrum, and you're selling pieces of share. So different ways of how to exploit that infrastructure is absolutely changing, not only for them, but as they change their business models, we need to adapt the gear where they makes that business model work. Okay, and that's how we see it.
All right. Do you hear that?
It's lunchtime, I think, right?
Yeah, people are getting angry, hungry. What was it again, Alberto? Hangry. They get hangry. But they're getting excited. And so as a closing statement from you three gentlemen, and to share with the audience, well, what should we look out for? If you scope a little bit the future, what do you see? What can we expect? What's out there? Your glass ball prediction. Ricardo, first, please.
A little foggy these days, the glass ball, but anyway, we'll polish and see if we can see anything. But what we see is the demand will continue to to be there, right? So a lot of the systems, a lot of the subsea cables that have been planned for a while, they were late to arrive for many reasons, right? Geopolitical.
Because of you?
No, no, because we don't build the cables. We just light the fiber pairs. So
There you go.
Geopolitical mainly, right? So
Yes.
if you put the geopolitical is one big bag, then you have the permitting side, right? So even cables landing in the U.S. connect to Europe, permitting is taking longer just because we got to double check. Is there any known allied countries partnership, interest, or participation? So it's taking longer. The permitting side, the construction side is taking longer as well because everybody's busy, right? If you go to telegeography, right, and look at how many cables are being built across the Pacific. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. So, and all those cables, they're taken. So everything is taking a longer time to get there. But when it does, I think we're going to see the impact in the industry very clearly, right? But it's good that they're coming because whenever AI decides to get out of the data center, it's going to hit us hard. So I think preparing for that, I think, is key. As far as the new models that we talked about, I think it's good from a industry perspective that the Googles and the Metas, they have the deep pockets that they do to build out and invite others to partake into their construction, right? Once it's done, swapping fiber pairs for CLS, right? Because they don't care about it. It's $500 million. That's okay. I have the money, so they do it. They take care of the permitting, build outs, contracts, and once it's almost ready, do you want a fiber pair? Do you want a fiber pair? So it works for the industry because they're not keeping all that connectivity for themselves. They need others. I think in a way it's good. The only thing is that you don't get to choose where the cable goes, right? It's wherever they want to go, and then you have to deal with that. So that's the other thing. But I think that is building the infrastructure forward. It will be needed. It will be needed, I think, soon. But let's see. I mean, data centers, subsea cables, AI. I mean, that's a magic combination there. So let's see how that turns into more business for everybody. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Andres?
Well, look forward to the future of, when we talk in the 2025 panel, I'm looking forward to see what happens with that AI traffic that shifted to Gala, got trained, and then shifted back. It's going to create, I think it's going to create some sort of vacuum, right? And we're going to probably build networks to be able to do that. But the question is, if those AI models do shift somewhere else, what do we replace it with? The organic growth of normally what we see every day in the telecom business, or are we going to need a new type of business approach to it? So, up for grabs. Let's see what happens. But happy to face the challenge, and we look forward to it.
Okay, cool. Alberto?
For the next 3-5 years, I would expect, or I'd look forward to seeing some market consolidation. We've seen a huge number of new cables, new infrastructure, data
Trust
centers.
me too. I'm in M&A, so trust me, I love that.
And with that, a lot of price erosion, and there are way too many competitors in such a small space. At the end, it's one big market.
The market will fix that.
So yeah, looking forward to seeing some updates on that.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for staying with us. After lunch, we will have another 2 panel sessions, talk about messaging and so on. So more to talk about, more to listen to, more hopefully to learn from. Let's hope so. I would like to also thank my panelists, so Andres, Alberto, and Ricardo. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your knowledge and let's say the future spectrum actually, but then terrestrial. So thank you so much, and lunch, right? Here we go.